One of the oldest and darkest stories in human history is a person hurting another. And when a man hurts you, that sharp sting you feel in that moment shakes not only your heart, but the deepest corners of your soul. In the middle of that shock, your mind whispers the only thing it knows. React, ask for explanations, demand answers, scream why. But today, I'll tell you about a different path, a deeper and wiser one. This path goes through understanding the dark archetype Carl Jung called the shadow, because when a man hurts you, he is actually speaking from his own shadow. And the unexpected response you give doesn't just confuse him, it places you back in the center of your own power. This is not a game of revenge or manipulation. This is the art of rediscovering your worth and protecting your inner peace. Now let's pause and think. When the moment comes when he hurts you with a word, a silence, or a careless attitude, what do you instinctively do? You grab your phone. Maybe you write a long message, explaining everything in detail, telling him how hurt you are. Maybe you call him, trying to hide the tremble in your voice, asking for an answer, an apology. You beg. You tear yourself apart, trying to understand why. All these reactions are so human, so understandable, but there's something you're doing without realizing it. With every attempt to explain, with every demand for answers, you hand him the emotional key to your inner world. You're telling him, you control my inner world. One action of yours can destroy me. One word can rebuild me. From that moment on, you're no longer the mysterious, powerful woman he admired. You turn into someone with a button he can press whenever he wants to put you into whatever emotional state he chooses. There is a basic rule in psychology. Whoever controls the emotions in a relationship controls the relationship. And this is the most common mistake, believing that reacting loudly earns respect, when in reality, it only shows a poorly managed vulnerability. Remember, feeling pain does not make you weak. Showing emotions is not a flaw. What makes you powerless is letting those emotions control every action you take. Think about this. After an argument, he suddenly stops talking to you the whole day. Hours pass, and you can't let go of your phone. Every silent minute turns into a scream of rejection in your mind. Eventually, you can't take it anymore and write that long paragraph. You pour your heart out to complain. You plead. What do you think happens in his mind? He understands this. I don't need to put in effort. Even if I don't take a single step, she'll come to me. And this understanding slowly kills respect. Now, imagine the same scenario with a different reaction. He ignores you, and despite the pain inside you, you choose silence. You don't react immediately. You don't exhaust yourself explaining. You don't chase him. You continue your life. Maybe you have coffee with a friend. Maybe you start that project you've been postponing. Maybe you simply go for a walk. This contrast turns his world upside down. He expects an anxious reaction, but instead he encounters your calm. This is the key. What confuses a man the most is not your tears, but your unexpected tranquility. Why? Because when a man consciously or unconsciously hurts you, he looks for feedback to confirm his power. He wants to see whether he can control your emotions. When he doesn't get that response, another feeling awakens in him. Uncertainty. Why isn't she writing? Why isn't she calling? Does she not care anymore? What's happening? This uncertainty forces him to move. It pulls him toward you. It makes him feel he has lost the control he thought he had. Here lies the essential lesson. You don't always need to respond, but you always need to know from what place you are acting. Because in front of you are two paths, acting out of fear of losing him, or acting from the self of love. That reminds you that you were whole and complete before he ever entered your life. And whenever you choose the second path, you reclaim your power. I also want you to notice this. Most of the time, we are afraid that if we don't respond, he will think we don't care. This hurts, because we want him to know how important he is to us. But respect is not earned by crying or begging. Respect is earned by showing that your life does not stop because someone else behaves carelessly. The strongest confusion you can create is proving that your world does not revolve around him. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying swallow your pain or turn into a cold stone. What I'm teaching you is to manage the timing and form of your reaction. This lack of response forces him to face himself and question what's happening. And the most interesting part is that he starts seeing you not as weak, but as someone with self-control who doesn't act on impulse. Silence is not indifference. Silence is power. The second behavior is continuing your life as if nothing happened, while he imagines you being paralyzed because of what he did. He sees you active, working, meeting friends, taking care of yourself. This normalcy surprises him more than any argument, because you break his internal scenario in which you stop everything for him. Nothing confuses a man more than realizing that your life does not revolve around him. The third behavior is projecting calm even if storms rage inside you. Let me be clear. This is not denying your emotions, it's choosing when and how to show them. When he sees you calm, composed, even smiling, despite his attempt to hurt you, his mind doesn't know how to process it. He expected tears or reproach, but he finds serenity. The fourth behavior is not entering his provocation game. Many men test you by saying hurtful things or acting cold just to see how you react. If you fall into the trap and respond with drama, you confirm his power. But when you refuse to play the game, his strategy collapses. There is nothing more surprising to someone expecting a fight than being met with peace. The fifth behavior is showing emotional independence. When he realizes that you don't rely on his approval to feel good, that you continue making decisions, living your routine, and staying centered without constant communication, he feels a mix of confusion and admiration. The sixth behavior is setting boundaries with calmness, not shouting, "I won't tolerate this," but saying it softly, firmly, and supporting it with your actions. For example, if he disappears for days and comes back as if nothing happened, instead of hours of reproach, you simply say, "I don't accept this kind of behavior. If you want to be in my life, it has to be with respect." And then you maintain your position. These short, clear, confident sentences shake him far more than any dramatic scene. The seventh behavior is focusing more on your own life purpose. When your energy goes into growth, goals, and self-care, not chasing him, he understands that your world is not tied to his attention, and this realization affects him deeply. These behaviors are not games or manipulation. They are ways of reclaiming your power, protecting your dignity, and sending a clear message. You do not control my emotions, because when you choose not to react from anger and a wounded heart, when you breathe, wait, and give yourself space, your mind becomes clear. And if you decide to answer later, your response is far more strategic, calmer, and stronger, and its psychological impact is much greater. Now, I'll tell you the behaviors that truly shock him when he tries to hurt you. Remember, confusion doesn't come from shouting or demanding answers. It comes from acting in the exact opposite way he expects. The first behavior is strategic silence. He waits for your reaction, your call, your message. When nothing comes, he has no idea what to think. When you act from that point, yes, you confuse him, but you also teach him. You show him that the rules are different with you, and if he wants to stay in your life, he must do so with respect. And here is the most important secret. Confusion is not an end in itself. It is a tool to remind him and yourself that your value does not depend on how he treats you. Now we come to one of the strongest and hardest strategies, using silence and distance as a form of strength. When a man hurts you, your natural instinct is to move toward him, ask for explanations, talk. But psychology tells us, when you respond too quickly, all you achieve is confirming his control. But when you choose silence and distance, you return the blow with grace. Strategic silence is a message on its own. It says, without words, "What you did hurt me, but you will not see me desperate." This kind of silence disturbs him deeply. He expects complaints and tears, but encounters command in that calm. He begins questioning himself. Distance plays the same role. When you choose not to be immediately available, when you don't reply with the same speed, when you don't accept a meeting the moment he proposes it, the message is, "My life does not revolve around your decisions." This shakes him profoundly. I know this sounds difficult, because deep down, what you want is connection. But remember this: sometimes the best way to get closer is to step back first. Because in the silence and distance, he must face his own behavior. He understands that he cannot play with your emotions because you will not be pulled around, and only then does he begin to respect you. Silence and distance are powerful because they require inner mastery, not outer effort. They are choosing your calm over your anxiety. They are reminding yourself that you do not have to chase to be valued, and every time you choose them, your energy shifts. He feels it, he senses it, and believe MIT surprises him more than any speech. So what happens after all this? You regain your dignity, because when a man hurts you, the first thing that trembles inside is your sense of worth. You ask yourself, what did I do wrong? Is something wrong with me? And in this space of doubt, many fall into toxic games, manipulation, competition, revenge, and although these tactics may look like you're gaining power, in truth, you lose. Dignity is not regained by acting like someone you're not. It is regained by reminding yourself who you truly are. Dignity rises when you choose your own peace, when you act in alignment with your self-love. You don't sink to his level. You set boundaries with calm. You don't compete with anyone. And most importantly, you listen to your inner voice. You speak to yourself with respect and give yourself the value you deserve. Knowing when to leave is also dignity. The moment you understand that your worth does not depend on how he treats you, you begin rebuilding your dignity. And what about the pain you feel? You must turn it into strength. Don't be ashamed of feeling pain. The problem is not that you hurt. The problem is believing that this pain means weakness. Pain shapes a person. It's what you do with it. See pain as a teacher. Instead of asking, why did he do this to me? Ask, what is this teaching me about myself? Channel the energy of pain into something that feeds you. Exercise, write, work on a project. Every wound can turn into a boundary. Every time you say, I'll never allow this again, you gain another layer of armor. Use the clarity that pain brings, because pain also illuminates. It shows you where you lost yourself, where you gave too much. Pain doesn't have to destroy you. It can turn you into a stronger, more conscious version of yourself. And when the moment comes when you must respond, do it with grace. Grace is not in fancy words. It is in the calmness you choose to express yourself with. He expects drama, and you give him determination. Your response is short and clear. You don't over-explain, because fewer words make his mind work harder, and your actions support your words. Most importantly, your response is not to convince him, it is to protect your stance. Sometimes the most graceful response is no response. Not every attack deserves your energy. Remember, every response is an opportunity to show who you are. How do you maintain this long term? How do you develop emotional mastery? This does not mean not feeling. It means not letting what you feel dictate your decisions. You can feel anger, sadness, disappointment and still choose to act with calm rather than impulse. Every time you feel the urge to react, breathe. Train your mind with anchors like my peace is more valuable. When your life doesn't revolve around one man, the wounds he creates stay smaller. Stay surrounded by people who lift you. Make self-observation a daily habit. And remember that the relationship you have with yourself is the most important one, because when you are your own priority, no man gets the final say about your worth. In the end, all this effort is not just to manage a relationship, it is to transform it. Relationships don't change because the other person magically changes. They change because you change the way you relate. When he realizes he is no longer dealing with the same reactive woman, he has to adjust. With these strategies, you break the old dynamic. You teach him that respect is the only valid currency, and you take back control of your life. This transforms not just your relationship with him, but your relationship with yourself. Because every time you choose strategic silence, every time you set a boundary, every time you prioritize yourself, you send yourself a message. I am valuable. I deserve respect. I am enough. And this message eventually becomes a belief. And when a woman truly believes she is enough, the whole world begins to treat her that way. Remember this: what confuses a man the most is your transformation, because he expected an anxious, dependent, fragile woman, and what he finds is a solid, confident, serene one. That is the real surprise. And when you reach this level, not only your relationships, but your entire life changes. In the end, you realize that the goal was never for him to change. The goal was for you to never lose yourself again. Surprising a man when he hurts you is not a game, it is an act of self-love. It is not about manipulating him, but about protecting yourself. Not about punishing him, but about honoring yourself. If these thoughts added something to your life, don't forget to like the video and share your own experiences and insights in the comments. Your story may inspire another woman who needs to know she is not alone. You can subscribe for more deep content like this and turn on notifications. Remember, your greatest strength is the calm you keep inside despite the storms outside, and that calm is what makes you irresistible.